Hello, I'm Jane, and welcome to your Wednesday night church night reflection. Today is a very special day because it is Earth Day, and it is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And it is a beautiful sunny day outside. I see the blue sky and the clouds, and the irises are blooming right beside me. People came on this land before we ever did. They saw the seasons, the blue sky, and the flowers blooming in the spring. And I don't know where you are right now watching this reflection, but I am on the traditional lands of the Mississauga, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat peoples, who have found spirituality through the earth in this place for thousands of years. Peoples who continue to cry out for justice. And just like we do at the beginning of every Wednesday night worship, I'm going to light a candle. This candle represents Jesus' presence in all of our times of prayer, in our times of celebration, of sorrow, reflection, and when we gather together, even if we are just gathering digitally. Since today is Earth Day, I'm excited to share with you one of my favorite stories from the Old Testament, which is the story of creation from Genesis. And we don't always include children in these Wednesday night reflections, but I thought this might be a great opportunity. So tonight I'm going to share the creation story through godly play. And godly play is a liturgical form of storytelling. It is beautiful because it is a real slowing down of the story. It is simple and it is meditative and it invites us into the greatest of questions, the most existential questions. I'm going to turn it over to Hillary to lead us in Peace, Salam, Shalom before I invite you into the godly play. I have rediscovered my love of collaging during the self-isolation, so I have created all the godly play story cards out of collage. I hope you enjoy it.
Peace, salam, shalom. 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 Peace, salam, shalom.
I wonder what is the greatest gift you have ever received. Some gifts are so big that we can't even recognize them. We can't even see that they are there. And sometimes for these gifts, we have to go back really far we have to go back to the beginning, or maybe even a little bit before the beginning. In the beginning, well, there wasn't very much. In the beginning, there was nothing. Except maybe for a giant smile. But there was nobody there to see it. On the first day, God gave us the gift of light. God divided the light from the darkness. And this wasn't just the light in a light bulb or the light in a candle or even the light in the sun. This was the light where all light comes from. And when God saw the light at the end of the first day, God said, "It is good." And that was the end of the first day. On the second day, God gave us the gift of water. Now, this wasn't the water that is in your tap or the water in your bath or the water in a puddle or even in the Great Lakes or the ocean. This is the water where all water comes from. And God divided the water in the sky from the water below with a firmament. And when God saw the water above and the water below, God said, "It is good." And that was the end of the second day. On the third day, God gave us the gift of dry land and green and growing things. And God divided the dry land from the sky and from the water and made all the plants that live on this land. And when God saw the dry land and the green and growing things, God said, "It is good." And that was the end of the third day. On the fourth day, God gave us the gift of day and night and gave us a way for us to count our days. God created great lights that rule the day and the night, the sun, which rules the day, and the moon and the stars, which are the great lights that rule the night. And when God saw the day and the night and the way for us to keep time, God said, "It is good." And that was the end of the fourth day. On the fifth day, God gave us the gift of all the creatures that live in the sky and all the creatures that live in the water. And I don't just mean birds and fish, all the creatures that call the water their home, and all the creatures that call the air their home. And when God saw the creatures of the water and the creatures of the sky, the ones that could swim and the ones that could fly, God said, "It is good." And that was the end of the fifth day. On the sixth day, God gave us the creatures of the dry land, the creatures with many legs and the creatures with 2 legs, the animals of the earth and creatures like you and I. And when God saw the creatures with 2 legs and the creatures with many legs, God said, "It is very good." And that was the end of the 6th day. On the 7th day, God gave us the gift of nothing. God decided that the 7th day was just for us to rest. And it was an important day because it was a day where we could appreciate all the gifts of the past 6 days. Each of us spends this day in a different way and in a different place. I don't know where you go to remember God's wonderful creation. Maybe you like to go to a special place in your backyard, or maybe there's a beach or a mountain or a forest that reminds you of these wonderful gifts. Maybe you stay in your bedroom or go to church. This day is especially about you, so I'm not sure what you do. But what I do know is that this day is so important that Jewish people mark it with the sign of 2 candles. And Christian people mark it with the sign of the cross. I wonder which day you are on right now. I wonder which of these days is especially about you. I wonder if there is a day in the story that we could take away and for the story to still be complete. I wonder what day God loved the most. And I wonder if you wonder anything about this story. I'd love for you to post it in the comments on Facebook or YouTube of this video. And I think it's time for us to put away the story. The 7th day, the day of rest. The 6th day, the day of creatures with 2 legs and creatures with many legs. The 5th day, the day of creatures in the water and of the sky. The 4th day, the day that taught us to count our days. The 3rd day, the day of dry land and green and growing things. The 2nd day, the day of water. The 1st day, the day of light. And the nothingness, the great mystery. I chose the creation story today not just because it was linked to Earth Day, but because of its focus on Sabbath. That God did not create on the seventh day. That God used this day to rest and, importantly, to reflect on all of the creations of the last 6 days. And we right now have been forced into a time of rest, into a time of Sabbath. Many of us have been stripped away of our work responsibilities. We can't go out and see our friends or do the courses or socializing that we usually get to do in the evenings. Our houses by now are probably clean. We just must sit and slow down and pause. And for some of us, this can feel good, but others of us feel anxiety in this. Anxiety that everything that structures our lives has been stripped away. And I've noticed a lot on the internet that people are dealing with this anxiety by going outside alone, going on slow walks, and reconnecting with the earth. And I have felt lots of longing and maybe even a little bit of envy for my friends who are quarantined on the West Coast or at their cottages or at their parents' houses who have giant yards and gardens and hiking trails. But I think that it's so beautiful that people in their fear and not knowing what to do, that they're finding solace in the sound of rain, in the crocuses peeking out of the ground, in sunrises and in sunsets. And it's so wonderful that this forced Sabbath has invited us in to the story of Genesis, to the story that tells us that we must pause, that there is value in stopping, and that connecting with the beauty of creation is one of the most human and one of the most important things that we can do. I'd like to end with an Earth Day prayer from Kairos. On Earth Day, we give thanks for signs of spring, melting snow, or blooming flowers, singing robins or flowing streams. O Creator, we give you thanks and praise. This Earth Day, as we mostly see those signs through our windows or walking alone, we notice that the earth has some rest from human activity. Even while we worry and struggle with people around the world, O Creator, we learn in the midst of our concerns. Each Earth Day, we grieve the state of life and loss on the earth, deteriorating faster than ever before. We confess our selfish actions, using what we want, not only what we need. Not all of our actions have brought you the honor we wish to bring, O Creator. We confess our sins with humble hearts. The earth cradles us in her sorrow. You, our source, grieve with her, your love for us abiding always in the midst of all of our faults and blunders. You forgive and love us still. O Creator, we rest in the assurance of that love. This year we have seen how swiftly humans can adapt. Give us the eyes to see wisdom in this moment. Give us the courage to change our ways forever, to live responsibly, to advocate boldly, to honor and protect what you have created. O Creator, with your help, we will change our ways. Through the power of the Spirit. Amen.